RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. BlenderHD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, September 13th, and we'll be taking a look at the 13-game NFL main slate this Sunday on DraftKings, specifically for GPP strategy. So we'll be going game by game, ranking them on our wonderful tier list, talking about all the inflection points for GPPs, leverage, correlation, stacking, everything that you'll need to know in order to attack those large field GPPs like the Millie Maker on DraftKings. Hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Give us your thumbs. Give it to us. Give it to us. Give us the thummy thumbs and the notification bell to always know when we go live. We got baseball stuff later today. If you're still playing MLB DFS, we got Grinders Live later today. Crunch time. We still got a ton of NFL content. If you're a premium member, the Blitz Show should come out soon. We got all the tools for you here. Sim Labs for NFL. We got showdown stuff for NFL, for all the island games. We got the projections. We got lineup HQ. We got all the tools, all the value rankings, and all the premium columns, and one of the guys that takes care of us when it comes to premium content here at RotoGrinders is John Breslin, a.k.a. Squirrel Patrol, getting ready for a 13-game NFL slate. Do you prefer these weeks where, like, the bye weeks are kind of like, do you like, there are a lot of people out there that when the bye weeks come, they prefer, like, oh, we have 10-game slate, 6 in the early window, 4 in the late window. It makes it kind of a little bit easier to, like, really narrow down what you want to do. I'm of the complete opposite belief. I want as many games as possible. I like those baseball slates with 14 games. I like where ownership, it starts getting, spread out to the point where you could find like 4% guys that could, like, win you a GPP.
Yeah, that it's interesting. I think it depends on the slate. I feel like a sense of, like, content relief when we get down to, like, the 9-game slates, when there's like 6 teams on a bye or whatever. So I do like those slates a little bit. They can be a little bit, like, more binary. Because, like, if you have like 9 games on a slate and there's one with a total of 52, it's like there's not as many games that can come and, like, overtake that game. Like, if all the other games have like a total of 45, it becomes like a Coors Field slate. So there's slates. I really, yeah, it can go either way. It depends on, like, what games are on the slate. This one's interesting. Like, I was actually thinking last night that it's on FanDuel, it's 14 games, and that's the max I think we can get. Right? Is because it usually there's, we're getting so many different island games now. Like, we're having like a Friday night game or a Saturday night game, or there's 3 games on Saturday. But, like, we don't get this many big slates, and we're almost not used to it anymore. We're used to, like, these 9-game slates. Like, oh yeah, we had 3 games on Thursday, and now we have 8 games on the main slate. So it's a big slate, like 13 games on DraftKings, 14 games on FanDuel. Like, that is about as big as it gets in this day and age. And so there's a lot to go through.
And we still got some injury news to keep an eye on. With Christian McCaffrey, with T. Higgins. Currently, we have them out in our projections, but things can change, obviously. You see lineup HQ up there. Obviously, click on that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month of RotoGrinders Combo Premium. You get all the sports. So let's go. We got no time to waste. We're going to go game by game. We're going to be putting them on the tiers. It's easy to just go game by game rather than just, like, hop around like we did last year. Let's start with the Raiders and the Ravens. So we're primarily on this show talking about, like, game stacks, team stacks, right? Not necessarily, specific play. If there's a high-owned play, we could talk about how we, leverage against it. But for the most part, we're not just looking at individual players, but how to build them around inside of your lineups. Baltimore has a healthy team total at 25. I think they're the highest, the largest favorite on the slate. I think they're a 9.5 point or 8.5 point favorite. Lamar Jackson is the highest price quarterback on the slate. I don't know if he's the highest projected. He's close to maybe the highest projected raw point wise. I don't think anyone's going to be that owned in this game. I mean, obviously, if you could play Lamar, play Lamar. Lamar, I mean, technically can be played naked with his rushing capability. But as far as stacking partners, I mean, we saw Isaiah Likely kind of break out on that island game. I'm not sure if that's sustainable. On the other side, the Raiders are awful. I don't know if I have any interest in the Raiders. I'm going to say on DraftKings, because I tend to be right with this guy more than not on ownership. I think Derrick Henry is going to be more than 7% owned on DraftKings at 6,700, because I think people will feel like as heavy favorites that they'll play him more. And I'm not all that interested in like double-digit owned Derrick Henry with, just basically, touchdown, multiple touchdown or bust type of thing. With especially when Lamar could vulture them. I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm taking even a look at our optimal stack percentage page currently, which runs through our Sims, which you could get if you're a premium member. The Ravens really don't rate out all that well. It seems like the Ravens are actually going to be higher owned than their chances of being optimal. I don't see many people playing like a Jackson, Andrews, Flowers type of lineup. Maybe you're a little bit more interested than I am, but I don't know. I just I don't even know if I would need to even run it back with a Raider. I'm not interested in Minshew or even Minshew Adams types of lineups. I mean, Baltimore does have a 25 implied team total, so like I gotta pay attention to it somehow. But feels like for the price, I don't really like this stack that much.
Yeah, I don't like this game. So are we doing the tiers thing, or are we just?
Yeah, we're doing the tier. We have to put the
right.
Ravens and the Raiders, and anything else that you want to say about the game.
Yeah, so I would put the Ravens probably down at D, and I'll put the Raiders in the same place. And I think that because I think they are dependent on each other a little bit. But there's been no quarterback that I like playing as much as Lamar Jackson over the last few years, but that's probably coming to an end. Like, I think Derrick Henry being there is going to, they're going to like, kind of eat into each other's production a little bit. Not really interested in Derrick Henry either. Like, Baltimore is too expensive for this game environment. Like, there's a good chance that they do just score about 25 points. and if they're, I can see a, like, 24-17 game here, or, maybe 28 17 or 24, something like that, where there's nothing that really kills you from the game. I don't think they're F. I think we could see Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams could get like a 12 reception game. Like, let's say Lamar Jackson throws, a touchdown to Mark Andrews, rushes for 2 more touchdowns. Suddenly, even at his price tag, 7,700 on DraftKings, he's paying off that price tag, and Devontae Adams gets, 13, 14 receptions and a touchdown. It's possible. I think in a 150 set, I have an interest in some kind of lineup like that or two. But this overall is not a game. Yeah, there's 14 games, 13 games on the slate. Not my favorite game to target.
Would you rather play a Jackson, Flowers, Andrews lineup, or a Minshew, Adams, Bowers lineup?
Sorry, what was the first one? It goes Jackson,
Lamar,
Flowers,
basically
and
Lamar +2 or Minshew +2. Because at the prices, they're about the same cost.
Yeah, I'd still probably go with the Lamar lineup, just because like Lamar is a guy that can just break the slate with the rushing, whereas Minshew, that's less likely. Yeah.
How about Derrick Henry? I mentioned Derrick Henry. It's not stack related, but would you? Derrick, what would you do with Derrick Henry at 5% ownership versus Derrick Henry at 15% ownership?
Oh, I don't know. I'm probably not going to play Derrick Henry, to be honest. Oh. Even in my 150 set, he doesn't contribute a lot in the passing game, and he has his big rushing games, they draw so much attention that he always does get some ownership, and it's not really that justified, especially you playing on a team with Lamar Jackson. Like, there's going to be a lot of red zone possessions where Lamar just gets the rushing touchdown, whereas in Tennessee that would have gone to Derrick Henry. So I think they're going to eat and vice versa too. So I'm more likely to play Lamar Jackson, I think. But not really that interested in Derrick Henry.
Okay, let's go to the next game. We shouldn't be spending this much time on this game either. It's the Chargers at the Panthers with a sub 40 implied, some 40 total. The Chargers are favored, even though they're on the road, because the Panthers are awful. I mean, do you Herbert plus Palmer plus Hurst is cheap, right? Bryce Young plus Deontay Johnson plus. I mean, I'm trying to make fetch happen. I think J.K. Dobbins may be a little overowned based on his performance last week. I'm kind of not interested. It's weird for me to say. Like, I'm not even sure if I'm interested in that many like one-offs in this game, let alone to stack. But if I were to stack someone, it would probably be, it's cheap to stack like Herbert plus Palmer plus Hurst or something like that. I don't want anything to do with Bryce Young. I kind of feel like it's a worse version of the previous game of the. I'd rather play the Chargers than the Panthers, but I almost don't want to play anyone in this game.
Yeah, by far the most appealing play from this game is the Chargers defense. And you could stack it with J.K. Dobbins. I can see that. But yeah, I think you've got the right categories there in D and F. Panthers I've pretty much given up on. I'm not even trying to be mean. Bryce Young was the quarterback of my $1 million team. It was a 2-game slate, and so I kind of I'm rooting for him, but he hasn't shown anything. I put him in the expert surveys. The thing that surprised me the most, I thought there might be some improvement, and I think I'm going to go ahead and just wait until I see that improvement before I start playing Bryce Young, even as like a 1 in 150 in my 150 set. I just don't see it. I think there's I don't think they make the pricing on quarterbacks slow enough, even on DraftKings, to where I think at 4,000 I would start considering Bryce Young. Like, if he was significantly cheaper than all the other quarterbacks on the slate, like, well, you don't know. Like, he's the former number 1 pick, but as of right now at 5,100, there's other quarterbacks within Bryce Young's price range who have actually shown something and are in good game environments. So yeah, I think it's DNF. Chargers a little bit more interested, than the Panthers, and probably even more so than the Raiders, just because they're probably not going to see a ton of ownership. You could talk me into like Lad McConkey is going to be really good, and or that you want to play like a J.K. Dobbins, like he is going to be a breakout running back this year, and you could pair him with the Chargers defense. But I don't know. Yeah, we can move on.
Next game. New Orleans heads into Dallas. This has a pretty healthy total at 47. I'm interested in seeing where your tier ranking of this is. The chalk games on this slate, and we're going to get to them. We're going to get to like Tampa Bay, Detroit. We're going to get to San Francisco. We're going to get to obviously the Rams and the Cardinals, which I think is going to be the chalkiest game on the slate. Then we also have Cincinnati, Kansas City. Like these two 4 p.m. games are going to be very chalky. I take a look at Dallas and I take a look at New Orleans, and I see pieces. You think of distributions when you come to like projections. It's like these mean projections are not like, they don't stand out. They're not bad though, but they're just like, okay, these guys are properly priced for their mean projection. But their range of outcomes is much more skewed. Like guys like Lamb, guys like Kamara, guys like Olave, even guys like Brandon Cooks or Rashid Shaheed. Like, this game could be a 35-28 game with these pieces. It could be a boring game also, depending on, how well Derek Carr plays and how much they give Ezekiel Elliott the ball. But I just don't think the ownership's going to be here that, like, I'm considering, like, Lamb is going to be much less owned with Cooper Kupp being super chalk and Rashee Rice being chalky enough even at a high 6K where it's hard to fit in CeeDee Lamb. I don't think people are playing Kamara because you're going to get like Kyron Williams and Breece Hall in that range. It just seems like Olave's at 6,400. There's other receivers in that range that are going to be chalkier. That I feel like I want to play a Prescott Lamb type of lineup. Ferguson, if he's in, maybe double stack, even though you don't need to, and then play like Kamara or Olave or even Shaheed on the other side. I don't know about you, but based on the ownership, like I know we have optimal rating. They're like middle of the pack from an optimal perspective on Dallas, but I actually think they're going to may even be lower owned than even these numbers. I'm trying to make an argument that Dallas should be in the A tier.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Those are my two green bubbles there on CeeDee Lamb and Alvin Kamara. I think it's a great game. I think it's way underowned. Great environment playing in Dallas. I think both of these teams might be skewing our expectations a little bit after week one. I think Dallas didn't look great. I mean, they still won handily in Cleveland. Like Cleveland had one of the best passing defenses and one of the best overall defenses last year. So the fact that they didn't put up a ton of yardage maybe shouldn't be a concern. Now turning around and facing New Orleans at home, it's like a much better environment. They're maybe out of our mind a little bit. Whereas New Orleans defense looked pretty good against Carolina. Let's see how they do in Dallas against the Cowboys. There are so many guys in this game that we would not be shocked at the end of the day if they broke the slate. CeeDee Lamb, Alvin Kamara. Kamara can put up 12, 13 receptions if New Orleans is trailing but it's close. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks, right? And Dak Prescott is a guy I almost never play. And actually, one of the themes I think this week is that we have the opportunity to get to a lot of guys we don't normally play because although there are 13 games on the slate, like Josh Allen's not on the slate, Tyreek Hill is not on the slate, Christian McCaffrey is probably not on the slate. So a lot of the guys who are the top priced guys at their positions that we want to get to because they sometimes Tyreek Hill sometimes has a projection that's just much higher than the other wide receivers like we saw last week. Well, it's not a thing. So I'm getting the opportunity to play some of these guys like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. That I often Tyreek Hill eats into a lot of their ownership. Same thing with some of the running backs we'll talk about, and Kamara maybe fits into that category a little bit, where it's usually if I'm spending up for McCaffrey or Bijan Robinson, they're not on the slate. So yeah, overall I think this is a really good game environment to get to, and I think it's underowned. I'd even put the Saints up in B. I don't probably not going to be playing a lot of Derek Carr, but I don't even know why not, because the idea of Chris Olave sounds good to me. The idea of Rashid Shaheed sounds good to me. Even Juwan Johnson looked pretty good at tight end. I think he caught a touchdown and 3,700. Our expectations from the tight end position are not very high this season. So yeah, I'd put the Cowboys in A and I'd put the Saints even up in B.
Going to take any shots on Schoonmaker? Well, it depends if Ferguson plays. I mean, that's we don't really know that.
I put that in my blurb as well, actually, or maybe it's my expert survey write-up for this game. That we have the possibility of getting a really cheap tight end too.
Okay. We also just got news right during the show that Hollywood Brown is headed to the IR. He's going to get shoulder surgery, so we don't have to worry about Kansas City. I mean, we have him out in the projections anyway. And yeah, is it a good or bad sign that TJ, who's producing today, we're touting the Cowboys as an A tier stack, and he likes the Saints defense.
I don't know.
I think the Cowboys are an A tier stack too, but I like both sides of this. This is going to be one of the fastest paced games on the slate, and the Saints defense are fantastic, and they're 2,400 on DraftKings. So even though the Cowboys are really good, this is still a top 5 to 10 defense in the league for near minimum price on one of the fastest paced games on the slate. So I feel like, sacks, turnovers, there's going to be points scored, but sacks and turnovers are probably going to be coming at a premium as well.
John, the next game I think is the toughest game on the slate to analyze. We got the Lions at home against the Buccaneers. It's the highest total game on the slate. The Lions have the highest implied team total at 29.5. The Tampa Bay side is the easier side. Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. You could throw in an Otten. You could throw in a Jalen McMillan, from a stack perspective. The Detroit side, Detroit could score. Detroit is going to be one of these teams I'm expecting this year to be a team that scores a lot of points, and there's like good luck figuring out where the touchdowns go to or where the production goes to, because you take Amon-Ra St. Brown with Jameson Williams actually being a thing. May not be an $8,100 wide receiver. May just be a $6K wide receiver. He may be Chris Godwin, right? He may not be, right? The Jahmyr Gibbs versus David Montgomery workload. We got obviously Sam Laporta thrown in there. The Lions could go out and score 5 touchdowns, and none of the Lions players could have flame emojis on DraftKings. Or Goff throws for 4 or 5 touchdowns to 2 specific people, and you win the slate with a Lions stack. Or David Montgomery has 3 rushing touchdowns, and you need him. I'm not sure where the field is going to go because, I mean, this implied team total makes it feel like, oh, people need part of this game. But I just feel like people are much more likely to play the Baker Mayfield side as the stack and then use like one piece as the run back. And I'm not playing 150 lineups. Like, I'm playing, I think 10 or 20 lineups. Like, I feel like if I want to play this game, I got to play 20 lineups worth of this game just to have all the combinations, so I don't feel like an idiot where, I got the right game, but I got the wrong people. How are you dealing with this game? Because I individually, I like the players. It's just I'm not. Who do I play? And how owned are they going to be? Because this could be, people could have the same thought as me and go, well, who am I supposed to stack in this game? I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Rams, right? The Rams are easy, right? The Cardinals are easier, and the Chiefs, they're easier, right? This is not easy. But if people are going to go there, I'd rather just run away and go, I hope the production just gets spread out and no one wins.
I like this game. I mean, this is the highest total game of the slate. I would put both of these teams as an A. I know I just put Dallas in as an A. There's teams I like and teams I don't. And like game environments I like on this slate. Tampa Bay, I think 4th most passing yards allowed last season. 5th fewest rushing yards allowed per game last season. So I'm going to focus on the Detroit passing game, especially Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, he's one of the guys I was thinking of when I was talking about, like, Tyreek Hill is not on the slate, so we get to get some guys we don't always get to play as much. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown is right there. I like the idea he didn't have a huge game in week 1. I think this passing defense is not that good. It's possible, like, the Buccaneers passing defense is just not good, and Jaden Daniels wasn't able to exploit it in his first game, and he still had a decent game. So yeah, I don't know. Love the Detroit side, starting with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and there's so many pieces from the Tampa Bay side that you can run it back with. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, underpriced. The rookie Jalen McMillan, I've got him tagged in. He's too cheap for potentially having big upside, like multi-touchdown upside. So yeah, love this game. I would put both teams as an A. If you want to put Tampa Bay in B, I'd understand. But
right. Well, if you had to choose between one side, which side would you take? The Lions side or would you rather play a Baker Mayfield double plus an Amon-Ra or one piece run back, or would you rather play Goff plus 2 with a Rashad White or Godwin or Evans run back? Like, which side? I mean, I prefer the Lions side.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's not like some of the other games we've talked about where it's like, I have a preference. Like, I think both teams are appropriately priced. Because I feel like Tampa Bay is a little bit cheaper, and they're the team with the lower implied point total. It's really tough. I would say Lions. I prefer getting to the Lions. Like, I could see the line. I mean, it's a healthy spread, so I'll go with the Lions. I can see the Lions putting up a huge game here. It's less likely to see Tampa Bay going into Detroit and posting a blowout win, where they score 40 something points. So I'll go with the Lions side, but it's very close.
With Goff, you say your main target is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who would you pair with if you're going to do a double? I mean, because now you're getting up in price, by playing, Sam Laporta at 6,300. Then you have Jameson Williams at 5,300. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who you could play in a running back spot in that type of stack at 6,600. Are you much more willing to play? Is the key piece of this stack Amon-Ra St. Brown or just the Lions? Would you be down with the Goff plus Williams plus Laporta and you leave out Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or your thesis is more that Amon-Ra St. Brown being at 8,100 is going to be much lower on this slate than in general because of Cooper Kupp's price, because of Breece Hall's price, because like he's just going to be like the odd man out. So you'd rather just have him be the guy that could score 30 plus points in your stack than it's necessarily the Lions in general by playing like the other pieces.
So I like both. I just made one dummy lineup quickly, and it's like a Dak Prescott lineup, but it has like I think Amon-Ra St. Brown and like I think maybe the cheap Bucks McMillan. I like playing this game every way. Like I do like I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really good one-off, but I also do like the idea of like having a Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams stack, and if you maybe run it back with a cheaper Bucks piece, or you play the Bucks side and have Amon-Ra St. Brown as maybe your only like Lions representative. I like playing this game every way that you can play it. Amon-Ra St. Brown is probably the guy I'm most likely to use if I don't have the quarterback from either team, I guess, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Next game should be quick. Colts at Packers. This is a 40 total, around the 40 total. Obviously, Jordan Love is out, so it'll be Malik Willis at quarterback for the Packers. We still got Anthony Richardson for the Colts, so 6,800. He obviously has upside. Who you pair him with is a different story. It could be Pittman, it could be Mitchell, it could be Pierce, it could be any of these guys. I'm not sure how valuable the Packers are now with the Malik Willis-led offense. I'm assuming they're going to be playing much more conservative and not let Malik Willis necessarily pass the ball as much. I don't want to play Josh Jacobs. I don't want to pay up to 7,700 for Jonathan Taylor, but it seems like it's much more likely that the running game someone gets 2 touchdowns rushing than receiving. I guess if I had to prefer one side, I'll play Richardson plus Pittman plus Mitchell. I mean, if I'm going to play a stack, I can't possibly see myself at all. Like, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to have any piece of this game at all. And definitely not a Malik Willis double stack. I mean, can I just simply put the, Colts, let's do like we did in these other games, like Colts at D and Packers at F? Are you playing Jaden Reed? Can you play any of these people as one? Can you play Adonai Mitchell as a one-off? Yeah, sure. Yeah. But do I want to play a double stack Anthony Richardson? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that interested in this game at all. This is, you're probably in the right categories. Like, I have some interest in Anthony Richardson. I could see it being possible. He ends up being the quarterback we want to have. I think he's probably going to be overowned based off of last week, and it's a much different game environment. Playing at home in the Dome versus, going to Green Bay and playing. Similarly, very little interest in Malik Willis. Like, he signed with the team really recently. I'm like trying to figure out what was his like best NFL game.
Well, he didn't do well for the Titans. I mean, the fact that Titans drafted someone else and got rid of him.
Yeah, he's never thrown for 100 yards in a game. Never had more than 45 rushing yards in a game. I think there's like some athletic talent there, but it's a bad situation even for him. Like, he just signed with the team. I think there's a good chance there's a lot of like rushing in this game, and that it ends quickly. This is one of these games we're gonna look at the around 3:30. Oh, this game's wrapping up already. Wow, okay. And it doesn't produce any scores that we needed to have for our fantasy lineup. So Anthony Richardson, should always be represented in a 150 set. And maybe Jonathan Taylor or Josh Jacobs. Again, because it will probably be like a rushing centric game, so it's not impossible to get 2 or 3 touchdowns. I'd rather just not bet on it though, and go to a different game.
For the previous game, who'd you pair with Goff and Amon-Ra? Do you prefer Laporta, Gibbs, or Jameson Williams?
Probably Jameson Williams, but it's tough because you're starting to consider salary. It depends how much you want to spend in the rest of your lineup. I'd probably go either Jameson Williams or Laporta. I'm not sure how much Laporta is. If you can afford it, I would go
6,300. They're all expensive. They're all around. I mean,
yeah.
You have no specifically. It's not like you have to do this because obviously that is the answer. There's no preference. It's whatever fits in the lineup construction.
Yeah, no strong preference. Like I'd prefer Laporta probably if you can afford him. It's more likely. Like I think Jameson Williams is better priced.
Next game, another low total game. This is about 41-ish total. It's the Cleveland at Jacksonville. Jacksonville a 3-point favorite. I mean, taking a look at our optimal stacks percentage page, I guess Trevor Lawrence hits it a little. I mean, do I want to play Deshaun Watson? No. I mean, just like that's the flow chart. Deshaun Watson, no. If I'm going to play anyone on Cleveland, I mean, obviously you can play Amari Cooper and just hope for the best that Deshaun Watson isn't a pumpkin. But I think I prefer like Jerome Ford at 5,900 as like a pivot piece over if you're building lineups with like high priced wide receivers and you don't want to play like a 7K Breece Hall or a Pacheco or a Kyron Williams or something like that. I think he may end up coming in at like only like 10% owned, 8% owned, something like that. But obviously on the stack side, I prefer Lawrence, but I really don't think that the ceiling for a Jacksonville stack against the Cleveland defense, especially with the Cleveland offense being so poor and probably trying to keep the ball out of Deshaun Watson's hands. This could be another one of those games that alongside the Colts and the Packers that you're like, wow, this game's wrapping up pretty early. So my preference is in I put this, Jacksonville there. I mean, it's kind of, I think it's a bet. I'd rather play Jacksonville than the Colts, the Ravens, or the Chargers, but not much. I mean, if you want to put C on for the Jaguars, I'm fine with that, John. But do you really want to play a Lawrence double against the Browns defense?
No, I'm going to go the other way. I actually like the Browns. And by today, I like the Browns. I mean, I'd put them up in C. I think Jerome Ford is an interesting pivot off of potential of Jordan Mason talk. Jerome Ford is, I don't know why he's so underpriced. Like Nick Chubb is not walking through that door, at least at this point in the season. So Jerome Ford is the primary running back. He catches passes. David Njoku is out. Ford's only 5,900. I like Ford a lot more potentially than Jordan Mason at similar price, and Mason having a much higher ownership. Jordan Akins is the tight end, probably coming in for Njoku. I think he's 3,000. So that's a tight end you can look to. I mean, if he gets like 5 receptions, 50 yards at 3,000, that is potentially enough at the tight end position. I think the Millie Maker lineup on FanDuel last week had Kylan Granson with 0 points as the tight end. So we don't, sometimes you just want to be spending down a tight end, and Jordan Akins is probably my favorite, like super spend down tight end. So yeah, I'd put the Browns up in C. Jaguars, I'm probably not going to be getting to a lot against the Browns defense. I think like Brian Thomas is worth keeping an eye on as the season goes on. You could talk me into Evan Ingram. So I wouldn't put the Jaguars down in F, but I'm more interested in the Browns, I think, even though they're the underdog team than the Jaguars.
But when we talk about on these tiers, we're talking about not just playing Jerome Ford, not just playing Jordan Akins. We're talking about playing Deshaun Watson plus 2 play. I mean, like that. Do you want to play Deshaun Watson plus Amari Cooper plus Jordan Akins? Is that a C tier stack to you? I get you with look, I throw up my hands. The one-offs, I don't have no problem playing Akins one-off or Cooper one-off or a Ford one-off. Just that, do I really want to play Deshaun Watson in the quarterback spot? Do I want to run it back with Brian Thomas and play a 3+1? It just did, like, I can't get the Browns into the C tier when you have to play Watson.
I would do it. I'd put the Browns in C tier. No one's going to play Deshaun Watson.
You're over. You're vetoing me. Okay, I'm fine.
I would say because like Deshaun Watson could get some rushing points. I don't love it. I'm going to be playing a lot more like Jerome Ford and Jordan Akins as like one-offs or even paired together, and maybe even run it back like Brian Thomas. I will be doing some of that probably in my 150 set, like without Deshaun Watson, and just hope the game's a little bit more high scoring than we think. Not going to be going crazy. It's not like a primary stack for me, but I'd put the Browns up in C.
Okay, San Francisco at Minnesota. This is a 46.5 total. The 49ers are favored by 5.5 points. Obviously, if McCaffrey's out, Jordan Mason will be the highest owned player on the entire slate, 5,200 at running back. I'm also assuming that Deebo Samuel's ownership will also go up. We're projecting him at 22% owned. Maybe he comes in at more like 18 or something like that. Everyone else is kind of like not really much owned at all. My opinion on this is that I think a way to play Jordan Mason in a lesser owned way would be to play Jordan Mason as the run back in a Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson stack. So if you play Mason, there's going to be a lot of Mason teams that have no Vikings in it, right? But they're somewhat correlated. They're both sides of the game. And then the leverage way to play with the Mason chalk is to just play Brock Purdy plus Deebo Samuel plus George Kittle. And you could still play Jefferson as the run back. I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't mind playing Aaron Jones as the run. I mean, I don't mind this game. I really don't mind this game. I think I put San Francisco below the Cowboys. So like to me, I'll put my thoughts up here. I'll put the 49ers in the B tier, and I'll put the Vikings in the C tier. But I think it's a game to target. I think it really depends on where you think the chalk is going to. If Mason is going to be way owned, and then Purdy and the passing stack isn't, like I could even put the 49ers up in A. But I still think Deebo is going to be owned enough. And I really don't mind even playing the Darnold side and going the other way. So what are your thoughts?
Probably put them both in B. I think we're reading the game about the same way. I'm probably more interested in a Viking stack actually and running it back with Jordan Mason. But I'm probably going to have more 49ers than Vikings in my actual, when I actually put my lineups together. I'm going to end up with a lot of Jordan Mason, but I think we're showing him at 40% ownership. I'll be under the field on that. I think he should be like a 20% owned running back. So it's strange. It's one of the mold of Mason being one of my highest owned players, but I'm dramatically under the field. He doesn't catch a lot of passes. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be. He's not Christian McCaffrey 5,200, if that's what people are thinking. So I agree. I'd rather play Jordan Mason only if I'm playing some Vikings. Because I think he couldn't. I think Jordan Mason can get outscored by Jerome Ford here. So yeah, I don't know. I'd put them both in B.
Right. Well, your point about Jordan Mason is that at 5,200, he is the highest mean for point per dollar perspective, but with how he generates points, his ceiling is really going to be through touchdowns. So if the touchdowns don't go his way, I mean, I think it's very easy for Jordan Mason to score 14 fantasy points. Yeah. If you want to lock up 14 fantasy points in your cash game lineup or something like that, but that's fine. But 14 points isn't going to be a need to have it type of score. That's kind of the point you're making. What makes him any different than Jerome Ford at 5,900 or Ezekiel Elliott 57? I mean, Zeke is at 5,700. I mean, kind of the same type of running back. It's just he's underpriced, but unless he scores 25 plus fantasy points, you could probably find those points by a ton of other people.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is 5,400. Jordan Mason is the best point per dollar running back on the slate. if Jordan Mason was coming in at like 10% ownership, I'd be like, wow, I can't wait to get over the field. He's coming in at 40% ownership, and I think that could be accurate. Like, because he had such a big game and such like a visible spot. And I think people are going to be along the like of a mindset of like, Christian McCaffrey, like 5,200. He's not Christian McCaffrey. And there's so many other pieces from that 49ers team that could have big games. And suddenly Jordan Mason, what if Jordan Mason's putting up 55 yards with no catches or something like, some kind of game line like that? And people are like, he had a great game. He really got the yardage when the 49ers needed it or something like that. But, he's getting lapped by a bunch of other running backs. So, I'll be under the field probably on Jordan Mason.
Okay, here's a quick game. Seahawks at Patriots, 38.5 total. I could see myself playing Stevenson at 6,200. I could see myself playing Kenny Walker at 6,300. I can't see myself. Maybe even I could throw in a Metcalf at 5,900 as a one-off. Am I going to play a Geno Smith stack? I don't think so. Am I going to play a Jacoby Brissett stack? I think I'd rather play I'd rather play Deshaun Watson before that. Are we going to do this thing where, I'd rather play the Seahawks stack before the Patriots stack. But, is this as simple as Seahawks in D and Patriots in F? Like just for these other games?
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't even know. The Seahawks in D. Honestly, I'm going to be playing more Patriots. I'll play some Ramondre Stevenson. I might be over the field on Ramondre Stevenson. He might be one of my higher owned running backs. Just because he's only 6,200 and he is, he's a primary back on his team that's going to run the ball a lot. But as a stack, I'd put the Patriots down in F, and then Seahawks D or F.
Right. If you had to choose between a Geno Smith stack or a Brissett stack, which one are you taking?
Yeah, Geno Smith.
Right. So that's the only reason right. But they're like D-. I would even if I could put them in the middle. I'm not interested. Okay. Next game. Jets Titans. 41 total. The Jets are 4-point favorites on the road to the Titans. Breece Hall is going to be popular at 7,400, and rightfully so. His props look ridiculous for the $7,400 price. I think Garrett Wilson is going to get some ownership also. Even Alan Lazard, I think, people may play the Rodgers, Lazard, Wilson. You could even play Breece Hall in the stack as well. Aaron Rodgers is 5,900. It's not like he's that expensive. On the Titans side, you could play Tony Pollard. You could play Calvin Ridley. I don't have interest in a Will Levis stack, but you got some run backs, right? Is DeAndre Hopkins alive? I don't think so. Much more interested in the Jets here, but also the ownership is going to be there as well. And it's not like the Jets are great. And if you're going to chalk Jets, doesn't sound as appealing as one would think. I'm going to put the Jets in the C tier. And good luck. Where's it? I don't care what Dave Kitchen says on the Swolecast. We ain't playing any Titans. At least not in a stack, right? Is this, because Breece Hall's going to be popular. Would you consider playing a Rodgers, Hall, Wilson type of like not many people playing Breece Hall are also going to play Aaron Rodgers, and Breece Hall could obviously score receiving touchdowns, and you could play that way.
Yeah, that's exactly where I would put the teams. Maybe we see like angry Aaron Rodgers. It's possible Garrett Wilson or Alan Lazard ends up being a really useful piece. If you could play Aaron Rodgers with Breece Hall, I think Hall might end up being a little bit overowned, but he's in a good spot. I don't know. Yeah, it's where I'd put the teams, and almost no interest in the Titans. I'm not sure how many Titans wide receivers I can name. Limited interest in the Titans. Okay,
last game of the 1 p.m. set. I'm gonna stake my claim. Favorite game of the entire slate. That's the Giants at the Commanders. 43 total. This game, I think this is the highest variance game of the entire slate. I think If you told me that this game ended 12-10 and one team won with 4 field goals, would not be shocked. If you told me that this game ended 55-32, on top with 3 defensive touchdowns also on pick sixes, and just the ball is just all over the place, would be shocked at that as well. Maybe these teams are going to be the Ponzi scheme teams of the season, but at these prices, Daniel Jones plus Malik Neighbors plus Wan'Dale Robinson plus whatever, it's that type of Jalen Hyatt you can take a shot on. Jaden Daniels plus whoever you want. I don't mind Brian Robinson, even in a stack. People are down on McLaurin now, even though he was on the field all the time. I mean, he's there. I like the defenses. I mean, like it's one of these things where it's like, if you wanted to play either defense in your lineup and not play the stack, I think these defenses could score 20 points also off of fumble returns and pick sixes. Who the hell knows? But it's 2 rushing quarterbacks that have ceilings, and depending on the game script of the game, this game could be short fields or the game could be 3 and outs. One of the two, I think, is a very wide range of outcomes, and it's a very competitive price to stack any of these teams where you could play Cooper Kupp and Breece Hall in your lineup. You could play CeeDee Lamb, and you could play any of these teams in your lineup. I want to embrace the variance, and I'm going and in our optimal stack percentage tool, this game actually is Jaden Daniels is number 2 and Daniel Jones is number 4 on the list of optimal quarterbacks. That's our Sims. I'm gonna say that I possibly both these teams are 8-tier teams.
Interesting. I think you like the game a little bit more than I do. I have some interest in the game. What I'm interested in this game is maybe not like a full game stack. Like I would maybe do Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, right? Yeah, Terry McLaurin catches 2 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels runs in another. Okay, I can see that. Or same thing with Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors. But this game still has like a 43-point total with both teams under 23 implied points. So I think the Vegas line is telling us that it's going to be potentially closer to that 12-10 than the game that we want in our fantasy lineups, and it's seeing some ownership. I think optimizers and I think we've got Jane Daniels as one of the higher owned quarterbacks, and I think Malik Neighbors is going to get a lot of ownership. I like the game. I don't love the full stack of this game as much as it sounds like you might, but I could see you take Daniel Jones and Neighbors, and then that's really cheap, and then you're suddenly getting in some expensive pieces from another high total game, and that's the winning stack. I could see that. I'd put them probably both in B, just because the total is not that high, and I trust Vegas to kind of know more than I do. It's an outdoor environment, so it's possible the offenses just aren't as good as the talent should be.
TJ is asking who's the cash game quarterback, Daniels, Mahomes, or Fields. I think the answer isn't even one of them. If I had to choose, it would be Mahomes, but I think the cash game quarterback is Kyler Murray.
I was gonna go Mahomes,
but I would rank Murray 1, Mahomes 2, and then you're not playing Fields. Daniels would be if you need. I don't think you need. If Jordan Mason is available, if we get Jordan Mason this week, you don't have to worry about playing a cheap quarterback. You could play Murray or Mahomes. No problem.
Just saying, in the blitz, the Justin Fields is projected for more raw points than Kyler Murray at $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck to that.
Yeah, I don't know, because Fields is in a totally different spot than he's been for the rest of his career, so he might not. I think he's interesting for tournaments for sure. I wouldn't put him in for.
Well, let's talk about that. We got the 4 o'clock late set games. 2 of them are going to be chalky. This one is not. Let's talk about Justin Fields. Steelers at the Broncos with a 36.5 total. Can I play Pickens as a one-off? Maybe. Can I play Sutton as a one-off? Maybe. I mean, dude, Bo Nix's passing prop is like 162. I mean, like, this is brutal. This game is obviously I could see the upside on Justin Fields, right? Good luck. If this game beats me, then if this is the late night, if this is the late hammer, right? This is a game that I would play on the 3-game late slate to be different and just hope it goes off than the other games. But I mean, dude, like I'm gonna put it my Broncos in F and Steelers in D. I'd rather play Fields over Knicks, but a 36.5 total game in Denver. You're gonna play a Steelers quarterback on the road in Denver. I'm much more likely to play the defenses on these teams than play any offensive player. John, am I? Unless you're going to say something crazy that you're like, oh, Justin Fields could break a slate. You're putting him in the B tier. Pair him up with George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. Let's do it. I don't think you're going to say that.
I'm not going to say that. I would put the Steelers up in C at least because Fields is low priced. I agree. Like I don't think it's going to be like Chicago Justin Fields, like kind of unleashed, but the potential is there. Like there's not a bunch of quarterbacks in the league that can get a 60-yard rushing touchdown, and then George Pickens can get an 80-yard receiving touchdown without, not a lot of like scheme or whatever, or schematic, like NFL schematic. Like it's just like George Pickens can take one to the house. So can Justin Fields. They're both pretty well priced. I've got to have some interest in that. So I could see like a skinny stack of this game. Like I can see like putting Justin Fields and George Pickens and not playing anything from the Denver side, but game stacking another game with like Fields and Pickens and just hoping that 80-yard reception to Pickens happens and that then Fields gets a rushing touchdown as well, and that's paying off their price. So I'd put Steelers up and see.
Okay, let's go to one of the chalky games on the slate. Chiefs, Bengals. Chiefs at home, 6-point favorites, 48 total. Mahomes is going to be one of the most owned quarterbacks. Rashee Rice is going to be one of the most owned wide receivers. Kelsey may not be the most owned tight end, but 6,200. I mean, the stack is at least better priced than it was when Tyreek Hill was there and Mahomes was 8K and Tyreek was 8,500 and stuff like that. Pacheco's going to also be owned. I think Yoshivis will be a cheap punt that's going to be owned if Higgins is out. Jamar Chase is obviously expensive as part of this. If you use him as a run back, I don't know where you go in this game that is not owned. Outside of playing like Mahomes plus Kelsey and no Rice, or playing the Burrow side, playing Burrow, Chase, Yoshivis, Kelsey. Like the contrarian way to play this game would be something like Burrow, Chase, Yoshivis, Kelsey, Pacheco, or something like that, where like you do it that way. I mean, I from a projection standpoint, I like this game, but it's hard for me to figure out. Like, if you played this game as a stack, you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to play a contrarian running back. I'm going to play a 5% wide receiver that no one else is. You play Chris Olave and Jerome Ford in the lineup instead of like Jordan Mason and so like and Chris Godwin or something. Like you're doing something more like you don't have Cooper Kupp in this lineup, like that type of thing. But I'm not sure where you get like different here. So I'm going to put the Chiefs and the Bengals both in like the B tier by default. And the Chiefs primarily due to own. I mean, they would be an A-tier team, but I think ownership wise, I think the Chiefs will be higher owned than the Lions and the Cowboys. And that's kind of the reason why I put the Cowboys and the Lions on the A tier rather than the Chiefs.
Yeah, actually, I don't love this game. I know I'm going to end up playing a lot of it, but it's going to project well. Yeah, I'd put the Chiefs in B and the Bengals in C. Actually, I'd probably have the Chiefs closer to C than B. But that is just ownership considered. I don't know why this game is seeing so much more ownership than some of the other high total games. The Chiefs just don't seem to necessarily keep the foot on the gas all the way through. And they have one of these creative type offenses that get points in ways you weren't expecting, like Xavier Worthy, getting rushing touchdowns. And that kind of breaks our stack a little bit, right? I think that's great creative play calling, and the Chiefs are an excellent NFL team, as obviously winning the last 2 Super Bowls. But Patrick Mahomes has a string of games, has a bunch of games where he just gets about 18 points, and he's not the quarterback he needed to have because they can do so many different things. Like, and Isaiah Pacheco is there, and I don't know, it just feels to me like you get all of these games where Pacheco gets a touchdown, Mahomes gets a passing touchdown, some receiver gets some kind of sweep touchdown, and that's it. And they're going to put up their 28 points to get a defensive touchdown or something, and they get or Noah Gray gets a touchdown, nobody has him. I don't know. Yeah, I'd put them in C.
They're a team that's great for showdown because there's so many more potential players that you could play because they could always show up with a catch or 2 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I really don't like the Chiefs chalk. I mean, I feel like teams get this like ownership bump after having good games in primetime games, and I think it's going to be a good. I don't think the Chiefs are going to get shut out, right? Like they're the least likely team to get shut out. I don't know they're the most likely team to lead this slate in points.
Okie doke. Patrick Mahomes in our DraftKings optimal stack percentage page is the highest. The chances of being optimal, but it's also negative leverage because it's also the highest owned. So, I mean, really, we're bumping a lot of this down because of ownership, not necessarily because we don't think the Chiefs are good. I think that's perfectly fine. Just how you play the Chiefs stacks in your lineup is key. And another team that's going to be like that is probably the most popular game on the entire slate is going to be the Rams and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a 1-point favorite now. It's a 48 total. Cooper Kupp is probably going to be the second highest owned player on the entire slate at 7,600. He's not the highest priced wide receiver, yet he has the highest prop. 7.5 receptions, 86.5 yards or something like that. So higher than CD, higher than Jefferson. People are going to be playing a ton of him as a one-off. I think Kyren Williams is also going to be one of the top 3 owned running backs on the slate. And then Colby Parkinson will be a cheap tight end, kind of little cheapy chalky type of if not Jordan Akins, Colby Parkinson at tight end. Trey McBride will be a pay-up option that a lot of people will play at tight end if they do pay up at tight end. I think James Conner probably is going to be more owned on FanDuel than he will be on DraftKings, but still will be fairly popular on DraftKings at 6,400. Kyler Murray is going to be one of the more owned quarterbacks as well. Stafford will be up there. I mean, this is another game where do I go to be different? And the thing is that there are more pieces in this game to get different than in the Chiefs-Bengals game because you got DeMarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson there as with Puka out, running wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type of stuff. You obviously got Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe they decide to throw him the ball. Greg Dortch at 4,600. Maybe he catches 7 balls for 3 yards apiece or whatever. We got Michael Wilson could catch a 40-yard pass. I mean, there's just a lot of pieces here that you could use, but the natural inclination is that you go Stafford plus Kupp plus Parkinson, and you run it back with James Conner or something, or you do Kyler Murray plus Trey McBride plus Kyren Williams plus Cooper Kupp. Like that, you could do that, a 2+2. I'm putting the Rams in the B tier due to ownership. They would be an A tier team if they weren't as high owned as they are. And I almost feel that the Cardinals should be in the A tier because I think that's going to be the lower owned side of it. And Kyler Murray with his legs, Kyler Murray could have the highest quarterback score in the entire slate. And if people are paying down at tight end and you play Trey McBride and McBride gets 23 fantasy points and every other tight end gets 6, like we've seen happen, it's going to mean a lot getting a 15-point separation at tight end. So those are my thoughts. Maybe you're thinking differently.
No, I think that's about right. I am worried about the ownership in this game, but it is a good environment. Like I like this game. Like I think the Chiefs-Bengals game is going to see a lot of ownership as well, and I don't like that. Like relative to that game we just talked about, I like this game much more. I think this is right. Yeah, I'd put the Cardinals up in A and the Rams in B. I guess I would say I'm probably going to match the field in Cooper Kupp ownership, but I'm not dying to get way over the field. There's a difference between like Puka Nacua going down mid game and the defense can't like adjust necessarily as well in game versus like the Cardinals maybe having a full week to prepare for the idea. Okay, Cooper Kupp is going to be the primary target all game long. I'm interested in some of the Rams like peripheral pieces, the tight end Parkinson, like Tyler Johnson, DeMarcus Robinson. I think those are interesting, like leverage pieces, or maybe just pieces of like a Matthew Stafford stack. Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the pieces of this game. I do like the idea of going over the field on Cardinals if I'm going to match the field in Cooper Kupp ownership.
Okay, well, just to keep you happy, I know you like your symmetry. Yeah. What is your favorite? If you're going to play any F tier team as a stack, so you're going to play the quarterback plus 2 people with them, teammates: Raiders, Panthers, Packers, Patriots, Titans, Broncos. You got to choose.
I'd go with the Raiders, just because I think they have good offensive skill players, right? Like it wouldn't be shocking, especially in a point per reception format. Like Gardner Minshew can throw for 300 yards. Like I don't love the idea of it happening against the Ravens defense, but certainly not impossible, especially if they're down all game. So like, yeah, I could get me like Gardner Minshew, Devontae Adams, and one of those tight ends, or Jacoby Myers in there. And I think that's something reasonable. If I had to like pick between the Raiders, Panthers, Packers, Patriots, Titans.
Well, I'm just doing it so I keep it as the curve. You like it when we get the middle and the right. I just want to make it as symmetrical as possible. It's not perfectly symmetrical. So we only have 4 teams in the A tier. But last question, because we always talk about lineup construction. You're playing single entry. You're playing one lineup. It's you're playing the spy. You're playing that type of contest. And you had a choice between playing Jordan Mason or Cooper Kupp, but you can't play both. Which one would you rather play? I think I know what your answer is based on what we've already discussed. But that the 2 chalkiest pieces on the slate are Mason and Kupp. I'm gonna guess that you'd rather play Kupp over Mason.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Kupp has a long track record of putting up big games, and he doesn't even need to have an outstanding NFL game like to score so well in the point per reception format. Like, what if he just gets 11 receptions and 100 yards? Like, then that's like starting like he's underpriced. So yeah, I'd much rather play Kupp, even though understanding Kupp is much more expensive than Jordan Mason. Like, I think Jordan Mason has a much bigger path to a complete dud than Cooper Kupp.
Similar question, because these are the same, like similar price ranges. Would you rather play single entry GPP, right? Rashee Rice or Breece Hall? Only play one.
I'd probably go with Breece Hall.
Would you play? Is the thing like if you're gonna play single entry? I feel like if you're gonna play Rice, I'd rather just play Mahomes in my lineup than play Rice as a one-off. And I feel like Breece Hall is much more like the plays. I'd rather play him like between these 4 guys. Like if you had to choose 2, so you can play any 2 you want: Mason, Rice, Hall, Kupp. Which 2 ownership? Obviously, these are the most owned players, so like obviously ownership considered. What combination of the 2 would you most likely play and least likely play?
Hall, Mason, Rice, Kupp.
Right.
I think Hall and Kupp. Like, I think Cooper Kupp is probably the one most likely to bury me. And I think like there's not as much competition at the running back position, and like Breece Hall, like Hall and Kupp are both underpriced for players who can really break the slate. I don't see I think Rashee Rice. I love playing Rashee Rice in showdown, like you said. Like I like the Chiefs more in showdown. I don't see Rashee Rice like burying me. I don't see like Rashee Rice getting 15 receptions or 3 touchdowns as easily. I can see Jordan Mason like putting up a total dud, like getting like 70 yards, like and people going, "Hey, good rushing game," but like no receptions and just like burying a lineup. So yeah, I'd rather play Holland Cup.
Similar game theory style question, but worrying less about ownership. It's a single entry. You have 6,800 remaining for the flex. Cooper Kupp is already in your lineup. Do you play Kyron Williams or do you play Rashee Rice?
I probably in single entry I play Williams. I don't mind both of them, and hope the Rams do really well.
And they could do well in different ways, because like when I think of like Cooper Kupp having a massive game, I think of like, oh god, what if he catches 15, 21 targets, 15 receptions, and 110 yards, and he doesn't need the touchdown, and he always going out at the one, and it's annoying. Then Kyron Williams is getting in there and running, running into the end zone. So I could see them both having big games. I would do a Kyron Williams.
Last question. Andre Yoshevich, 3,800 with Higgins out. Might be like the chalky 4K or less receiver. People always like, talking. I know you're on the Sunday block. I remember Alec Pierce's name was mentioned on that show. Who's your 4K or less receiver that is sub 10%? Like don't use, like, it can't be Robinson or Tyler Johnson for the Rams. So what 4K or less wide receiver to play instead of Yoshevich has the best shot for you to put up, 15 to 20 points?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jalen McMillan by far. I've actually got him tagged in line HQ. So yeah, I'll go McMillan. Love the environment, and I think he's a good wide receiver. So yeah.
And that Sunday block that I was mentioning, you're on with Eric and Neil, right?
Yeah. GPP flannel takes.
Flannel takes, not final takes, but flannel takes.
Yeah.
Are you all going to wear flannel just because Neil's on the show?
Well, yeah, we did last week. We'll see if I don't know if we're gonna do it again this week. If we do it again, then we might be locked in all season. So I don't know. We may skip it.
You can tell, like, I don't watch the show, but I listen to the show. So
yeah.
So I can't tell if you actually were all wearing flannel. But you also have you have your Hitting the Nuts column. You have a whole bunch of stuff. You have the solo ship show with Jam to Win. Tell people what other stuff is coming out today, tomorrow, Sunday for NFL and otherwise.
So yeah, just the Hitting the Nuts article is, for the main slate will come out today. Then 3 p.m. got Solo Ship, which when I did this show last week, I did not realize Solo Ship is live this season. So like we go live, and you can ask us questions. We won't necessarily get to the questions because we like the idea of like more of a shorter, like kind of free flowing show. But if something's relevant, I think we'll obviously get to it or a direct question. So Solo Ship live at 3 p.m. and then Hitting the Nuts coming out at some point today. And then got the baseball and UFC content as well. So a lot going on this weekend. We got the event in the Sphere with
it's
UFC.
Only 10 fights though. It's a 10-fight slate. That kind of sucks for DFS.
It is. It's a 10-fight slate. There's 2 5-round fights. The 5-round fights are O'Malley and Marab, which is very well scoring generally for DraftKings, and then also Shevchenko and Grasso are like number 3, and they tend to go the distance, and like they both put up 90 points in a draw last time they fought. So that makes, because we only got 6 slots, so it is maybe not the best card for DraftKings. It'll be. I don't know how much I'm going to play actually, because I think for tournaments maybe there still is some game theory, but I don't know. It's going to be a weird card for DraftKings purposes. But it should be good regardless. I'm definitely going to play some contests, and then baseball as well. Obviously through tonight and through the weekend.
Well, that MMA stuff is premium content, so go sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Click on that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month. And I will be back on Monday with James to review the Week 2 slate. Give us your thumbs. Yes, give us your thumbs on your way out the door. Hit the thumb button. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Remember, later today for MLB, we got Grinders Live in crunch time. If you're still playing baseball, and I'll see you next week, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy props and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.